qualifications of Zambia's accession to be the member of the Global Green Growth Institute, the GGI. So PMRC submission is to give a background of what the institution is, its objectives, and what are some of our comments and reservations concerning the ratification to be the member of the country to be the member of the IGGC. Zambia has made a commendable effort in domesticating and implementing national environmental protocols and commitments through its national environmental policies, legislation, and strategies. All these have been put in place to ensure that as the country goes into its development path, it does that sustainably, and also it ensures that the environment is not degraded. However, some of these efforts, as the country is trying to implement and domesticate some of these international protocols, such as the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, is that some of the constraints are issues to do with inadequate financial resources, insufficient technical expertise, poverty. Now we are seeing the countries grappling between ensuring that it grows the economy to provide employment and reduce poverty, while at the same time it needs to ensure that the environment is sustainably managed. Another hindering factor is the harmonization of some of the existing policies. What is the Green Growth Institute? This is an institute that was established in 2012 at the Rio 20 conference in Brazil. Its vision is that of to ensuring that the continent is it's got low carbon emission. There's a resilient, strong economy that is inclusive and sustainable growth. Its mission then is for member states to transform their economies into a green growth economic model. While countries are developing, they should ensure that they're developing sustainably, using less energy and carbon emissions. Some of the objectives then of the institutes include supporting and diffusing a new paradigm of economic growth through the green growth model, which is a balance between economic growth and environmental sustainability. Another objective is targeting key aspects of economic performance and resilience, poverty reduction, job creation, and social inclusion, and those of environmental sustainability, such as climate change, mitigation and adaptation, biodiversity protection, and securing access to affordable clean energy. Another objective of the institute is creating and improving the economic, environmental, and social conditions of developing countries, such as Zambia, and ensuring that there are partnerships that are made between the developed and the developing world, and also between the public and the private sector, which is key to ensure that the economies, especially of low developing countries, are growing on a green path, as well as they are also mitigating and providing resilience against climate change. Some of the comments then that PMRC has concerning the agreement are that the objectives of the institute are in line with Zambia's green growth agenda as enshrined in the 8th National Development Plan, where the country has embarked on the economic development path that is being supported by environmental sustainability. Our 8th National Development Plan has one of the development areas on environmental sustainability, which has to ensure that there is protection against the impacts of climate change, as well as there's resilience, especially for livelihoods of many of our people. So if we look at the agreement, the institutes, the agreement, articles in the agreement of this institute, Article 2 and the activities of Article 4, which spells out that countries should ensure that there's dissemination of evidence-based knowledge and enhancing public awareness of the green growth and sustainable development. This activity is key for Zambia as the country is impacting on this development agenda, especially where the country is embarking on the transformation of the economy. This transformation will require a use of a lot of energy, especially within the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, where now the country is trying to move to 3 million metric tons. So then it's important that as the country embarks on this economic transformation agenda, they do so using low carbon emissions as enshrined in the 8th NDP. So this article that talks about dissemination of evidence-based knowledge and enhancing public awareness. COP27, Zambia, through the President of the Republic of Zambia, signed to ensure that they reduce deforestation. Deforestation, which you said has been bad for a country, but we cannot just go to the rural areas to say we are going to reduce deforestation, because that's a source of livelihood. While coming down to the urban areas, it's a source of energy. But remember, we need to reduce. So it's a matter of public awareness that we need to ensure that those who depend on burning of charcoal as a source of livelihood understand where we're taking that route. So the activities then in this article are key to ensure that we promote evidence-based information that is being disseminated down to the roots, and also public awareness on the vices of such activities, which are those that lead to forest and land degradation. Also, this activity in Article 4 requires the implementation of practices such as vocational training packages. We've come to a point now where we've seen a lot of our universities in some of their curriculum that have introduced environmental management as a course, that have introduced climate change and sustainability, disaster risk reduction are some of the courses that they are offering. So it is important that some of the articles to this agreement of the institute are speaking to what is already happening in Zambia. Additionally, some of the activities have pledged to offer capacity building regarding the design and implementation of the green growth plans. You've seen government right now is on the process of developing the green growth strategy under the Ministry of Green Economy. This plan is going to spell out on what routes the country is going to take as they embark on the green growth agenda, especially on green industrialization. So then it's important that this institute is coming with capacity building for most of the members of the special of government, because capacity building has been one of the hindering factors as we make some of these plans in our government to ensure that as we take the green growth agenda, there's capacity building that has been built. The ratification of this agreement is expected to contribute to the improvement of climate financing in Zambia. The flow of climate financing has increased from less than 20 billion per annum from 2010 to 50 billion per annum in 2021. If we look at some of this green financing agenda, it's coming from the green growth multilateral and bilateral institutions that have been set out, and these are all under the Paris Agreement. The growth of this financing, especially from the global village, is attributed to institutional strengthening commitments that have been made. Zambia was one of the first countries to come up with the nationally determined contributions, just when we came back from signing the Paris Agreement. And we've seen coming into last year, 2021, the country revised and increased some of the sectors that they were put under the nationally determined contributions. So we see that they have moved away from issues to do with mitigation. Now they have put in more sectors that have to do with adaptation. That is in response to the Paris Agreement. With the establishment of the Green Economy and Environment Ministry, which is trying to consolidate all environmental sustainability issues, then it becomes key. This then cures the problem we had of disintegrated efforts, where we had issues to do with forestry were under the Ministry of Agriculture. We had many other programs where we saw agriculture had the issues to the REDS project. We had Ministry of Lands also dealing with some of the climate mitigation programs. So with the coming in of this ministry, we are seeing a situation where there's going to be now consolidation and well-coordinated policies and efforts towards climate change and the green growth agenda. In conclusion, many countries have taken the path of green growth at the center of the development agenda, Zambia inclusive. Therefore, it is important that as Zambia has embarked on the path of greening its development, especially through green industrialization and adaptation programs, that they do not do that in isolation. Therefore, its joining of the institute then gives it an opportunity for them to interact with other institutions, especially the developed world, where they have already successfully implemented some of the green growth agenda and have greened their growth for best practices in mitigation, and also options that will ensure that there's transfer of technology from the developed world to Zambia, which we need for us to go into this green growth agenda. Because right now, as a country, we cannot develop if we say we take the green growth agenda abruptly. We cannot afford to create the jobs that we need, the poverty that we need to reduce, because as it stands now, issues of green growth are, we can say they are a luxury to Zambia because we have poverty. So if we tell people stop cutting down trees, we need to give them an alternative. So for us to get those alternatives, it's for us to interact with the global village to see what are some of the cheaper methods then as a country can we embark on. As we say, can we reduce the cutting down of trees where people are also expanding in terms of agriculture? We need to expand our agriculture outputs. But for us to go into agriculture intensification, which requires a lot of technology, we need to interact. We need financing from the developed world. So it's important that the country as Zambia embarks on this green development agenda with synergies and partnerships through the Institute. I submit, Chair.
Now this presentation, I have 3 questions. The first one is, have you took time to do a case study in these developed countries and prove that indeed they have achieved in terms of managing climate change, as we are trying to sign this treaty? The second one is, as a country, in your research, the past 30 years, we have been talking about encouraging our people not to cut down trees. And are we seeing those fruits that indeed, as a country, we are able to bring alternative so that we can able to sustain this environment? And the last one is, do you see any wrong in this treaty in terms of what is the advantages if we sign this treaty?
For the first one, on the case study, we have not yet done a case study, but we can say between 2015 and before COVID-19, we saw that the world was on the right track, issues to do with reduced carbon emissions. But after COVID-19, we've seen everybody, including the developed world, that are refusing us to use fossil fuels, have gone back to use fossil fuels because there was a lag in the development agenda. So they have gone back to what they discouraged us to use. So that's just basically what I can say. And then on issues to where we are saying we will discourage people, our citizens, to reduce on cutting down of trees, that's supporting deforestation. As I alluded to, we said refusing people to cut down trees, we need to give them an alternative. So as a country, we have not yet provided that alternative to ensure that there's a reduction in cutting down trees. I think I alluded to say it's a luxury to say we are stopping to cut down trees. It's a luxury because there's so much poverty, and then we are not energy sufficient. If we come back to Lusaka, who are the most consumers of charcoal, there's two. The energy sufficiency, I think we are going back to now we have load shedding. So what's the alternative? Gas is expensive. So we have not yet provided an alternative to our people to say, if people are cutting down trees, stop. We're giving them an alternative or giving them other sources of income. The urban people who are using the charcoal, electricity has become affordable. There is no load shedding. The alternative, which is gas, is accessible and is cheap. As a country, we have not yet reached that level. Coming to deforestation, I think only through the REACH project, and the REACH project has been just on farmers to say, reserve your trees, we're giving you the money. That's where, as a country, well, we've done it plus. Otherwise, halting deforestation through cutting down of trees for charcoal, we have not yet managed. And also, we are lagging behind as a country because we are cutting down trees every day to expand our cities through new residential areas that are being built. So to the reduction of cutting down trees right now, we are still remaining behind.
So we have mentioned that we actually, I think the President recently signed that we are going to reduce deforestation So how do you marry? Because the same words they are telling us we must increase electricity, cost effective. But the same people, they tell us, can you ensure that we don't cut down trees? When let's start at 1% of Zambians have access to electricity. As we have mentioned, gas is expensive. So really, how do they expect us to achieve the same issue for us to have a sustainable environment? So how do you relate cost rating with the tariffs, telling us we should not cut trees? So really, how do we balance that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The time when they were developing the Paris Agreement, so it's like each party, the developed world and the less developed world, had their parts to play. Where we are saying, as a country like Zambia, a developing country, do not cut down trees, use proper energy. The developed world then also pledged money to then introduce technologies to help the developing countries adapt and mitigate. But if we come to COP27, there was a lot of things to say. The developed world have not achieved the part of their bargain to send money to the developing world. There's a differentiation between the technologies that is being used then in the developed world and here. There's a technological imbalance. And as such, the developing world then cannot stop using fossil fuels for development because the developed world who polluted then have not yet provided an alternative, the funding that they pledged to what? To give the developing world for them to produce. As a climate change scholar, we say there are two things. There's what was said, the developed world said, can the principle of the polluter pays, meaning those who are polluting should pay, meaning the Chinese, China right now is polluting, so they need to pay, but if China has to pay, those who polluted then when industrialization started, the Europeans, the Germans, they should also pay. So, but the polluters are not paying. So why should the land polluters who are suffering then also then stop? Because as I said, right now for us to stop polluting is a luxury. As we've said, the tariffs are high. We do not have sufficient electricity. Then we need the advanced technology. So meaning the developed world will need to do what? We need to do the part of their bargain. Coming to COP28 in Egypt, we saw where the African countries have made demands to say the pledges made by the developed world through the Paris Agreement, they have to be met in order for us to develop at the same pace. Thank you.
In your view, do you think we need to assent to this agreement or not, bearing in mind the aspects that you are bringing? Because when you look at this agreement, yes, much as we as developing countries do not pollute and would want to make sure that we also develop. So, do you see this agreement as a piece of legislation that tries to help us develop or not?
In your own opinion, based on the analysis of this agreement, do you foresee a reduction in industrialization in Zambia once this agreement is enacted? Thank you.
If we sign to it, at least we'll get the much needed support that we need in terms of capacity building, because as a country we need that capacity for us to develop in a green way. And then also finances. Right now, Zambia, if you look at most of the financing towards climate change, the environment, most of it has been coming from the outside compared to what we have. National budget-wise, our budget is low towards the environmental sustainability. So because we've seen there's been this increased funding inflows that are coming from the outside world, it's important then as a country we are sent to ensure that we keep that flow of funding, which is really helpful, especially for our farmers through capacity building.
I was trying to find out, based on your analysis of this agreement, do you foresee a reduction in industrialization in the country? Because when you are contributing, you are foreseeing that once we enact, there will be a lot of bottlenecks that are going to enhance activities in industrialization. So what is your comment on that?
We do not see any reduction in industrialization because until then, when they give us the alternatives, then can they stop us what we are using? Moreover, we use a lot of electricity for most of our work for industrialization. So then, because hydropower is one of the clean energies that they're advising us to use, so really, basically, we do not see any reduction in industrialization.